Rick Horrow keeping score. And this is golf month. It's not really golf month for people that don't understand the business because it's football and otherwise. But I will tell you that for those of us who are serious golfers, who've had the 4 majors, who've had the first Olympics in 900 years, and now we're ready for the dose of the wind down. But after Ryder Cup and after FedEx Cup, you can never get enough wind down. And frankly, the guy that's in charge of, in many ways, making sure the business is on track with its numbers, along with PGA of America and others, is Joe Beditz. He joined the National Golf Foundation in 1984 and has served as the organization's president and chief executive since 1989. So he certainly knows the business, and a neighbor in Hope Sound. I'm just down the road in Jupiter. So we have a personal stake collectively in making sure the golf business survives and thrives, because for the next 60 years for me, that's what I'm doing, is playing. How are you doing, Joe?
I'm doing fantastic this afternoon.
Good. Wonderful. Well, so independent of what we talked about on the air or off the air about you going to play golf in St. Andrews for the next 14, 15, 16 days, I still like you very much, and I do think it's really important to steward the NGF to the next level. So tell us a little bit about the organization and what you do.
Well, Rick, like you, one of our jobs is keeping score. And so since 1936, actually, 80-year birthday this year, our anniversary, making us one of the oldest associations in golf. Yet we are mostly known amongst the businesses in golf as opposed to the golf consumers, although golf consumers probably notice a little NGF, or a National Golf Foundation, on the bottom, giving attribution to the NGF for a lot of the numbers that they might see in the various business magazines or golf magazines. Anyway, we track golf's important vital signs: the number of golfers, golf courses, rounds played, golf equipment expenditures, things like that.
And for our business audience, give us some of those numbers.
Well, we've got 24 million golfers right now in the United States playing golf on just under 15,000 golf courses. So there's a lot of golf being played, and probably 450, give or take, million rounds of golf in the U.S. alone. So it's a pretty big business.
And it's a big business, but the important thing is to understand if it's going in the right track. I know that the Orlando Sentinel had an article talking about 1,400 golf courses in Florida closing since the year 2000. It seems like a lot. But you hear a lot more about golf courses closing than opening, and I also hear that golf is rebounding and doing pretty well. So what's your overall assessment?
Well, we saw the article in the Orlando Sentinel and ourselves, and obviously there was a typo there, because there's only 1,000 golf courses in Florida.
A few zeros between friends doesn't matter. So the number's 140?
Yeah, well, no, I don't know what the number would be, but in fact, it's not 140. In fact, if they was just 1 decimal point off, it would still be pretty wrong. You'd have to go 2 decimal places, because we keep very good records of the number of golf courses in the United States, and we may get to talk about also we keep to track worldwide. So we have a database of every golf course on the planet that we maintain. And our records, I went back and checked, and in 2000, Florida had just 1,020 golf facilities. And right now we've got 1,004. So that's about 16 facilities net drop over a 16-year period. That would put our net odds about 1 in 1,000 of losing a golf course. Actually, it's more than that, because some closed and some opened. But in actual fact, we're right about at the same level we were in the year 2000.
Well, so, independent of bad reporting, which is clearly the case here, or maybe just an honest mistake that looks like bad reporting, are we feeling good about the golf industry and golf courses overall from an economic perspective? Is it good to own a golf course these days, public or private?
Well, Rick, it really depends on where that golf course is and what segment of the golfers, what kind of golfers it's trying to serve. There is absolutely no doubt that it's a very competitive business. The reason for that is that in the 1990s, from the beginning of the 90s through the early 2000s, we built over 4,000 new golf courses, 4,400 in fact. And there wasn't the corresponding increase in demand. So we were way oversupplied. Since that since we've begun closing more than opening, we've only corrected about 5 or 6%. In other words, we've gone down. So we added 40% to supply, and we've lost about 6% since our peak. That means we're still oversupplied. In our opinion, we think we still probably have maybe too many golf courses in some places, making it very difficult for those operators.
And I guess the issue, as everything, is real estate. But as effectively the research arm of the golf industry, what would you tell an entrepreneur who is a golfer who wants to get into the golf business today, either golf course real estate, redesign, public, private? What advice would you give him generally?
Well, I would say do your homework first. Go in with your eyes wide open. All golf is local. Like Tip O'Neill once said, all politics is local.
Sure.
Well, all golf is local. And so if you find the right golf course in the right market, there can be opportunity, especially if you've been there and run that golf course, like the business that it is, and, excelling in customer service and the condition of the golf course, et cetera. It's not for the faint of heart. You can't go into it just loving it. The old joke is how to become a millionaire in golf. Well, it's by starting with a few million and buying a golf course.
Right.
And so you have to be careful and know what you're doing, to make a go of it.
Well, and I guess the other issue as a golf course entrepreneur, golf developer, equipment is the blessing or the curse. I remember some of the old days where Jack Nicklaus designed a course in the Caymans that fit a ball that he also designed, and there were some courses that still use that. But do we need 180 acres? Do we need a lot more today? What do we do with the business of golf in the era of astronomical equipment, but less real estate than we had before?
Well, I think that golf courses, we are seeing a lot of redesign work. If this is on your, hopefully on point with your question.
Sure, of course.
We're seeing redesign work that is tending to soften some of these golf courses. It was de rigueur for quite a while to see who could build the toughest golf course. I remember once seeing a billboard not too far from here, Rick, where we live, and I won't mention any names, but it was a famous architect on the front of the billboard, and the saying was exceptional homes on a nasty golf course.
I'm wondering which way that cuts these days, I mean, and I completely understand what you're saying, and leading to that, Jack Nicklaus, who is our neighbor, and others are now unexpectedly pioneering the make golf more appropriate for the masses. Who'd have thought he would have ever been a supporter of the 15-inch wide golf hole and the tee it forward and all of that, the 9-hole golf. I assume as someone who is in essence a custodian of the game, as you have been since 1984, you are in favor of all of those marketing and business techniques that bring more people into the game in any context, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Golf is a game to be enjoyed for a lifetime. It's a fantastic game. It's being played for centuries, and it's going to continue to be played for centuries. So we want as many people to enjoy golf and experience, the euphoria of hitting a great shot as is possible. And we're seeing an adjustment in the market now, both in the redesign of some of these golf courses and the repricing. With the oversupply situation, it's a good time to be a golfer. Golf is essentially on sale.
Well, that's a good comment to make, except if you're part of the Nike hard goods industry, or if you're with Golfsmith, or you're with TaylorMade Adidas in some context. What do you make of the constriction in the golf equipment industry and the golf kind of selling to the general masses industry? Was it a case of oversupply, market adjustment? What's the cause?
Well, Rick, there was a bubble in golf participation. We grew like crazy in the 90s. And as the stock market soared, as housing values soared, golf grew, quite a bit, and the number of golf courses grew, et cetera. And so we experienced a real bubble in participation that actually, formed in, around the beginning of the early 2000s. At that time, we overbuilt golf courses. We overbuilt retail stores. We oversupplied. Manufacturers oversupplied those stores so that there was a glut. And we're still suffering, from the results of that. So now specifically with regard to, manufacturing, the amount of golf clubs being consumed is about the same today as it was 20 years ago in terms of the number of sets of irons or the number of drivers per 1,000 people, per 1,000 golfers. Your consumption is, about the same. Golfers have declined somewhat. We've lost less committed golfers who kind of joined in the euphoria of golf back then. But now today we have 24 million golfers, the vast majority who are very committed to continue playing the game. So we've got stability. The supply situation in manufacturers has reverted to what it was when I joined the industry 30 years ago. There were only a handful of manufacturers that time, supplying the golf business or supplying golfers. And that's kind of where we're, what we're back to today. The Nike has been fabulously successful in shoes and apparel, the things that they know the very most about. And, their decision to exit the industry, as Phil Knight said, it was an easy business decision. They weren't really number one in the categories of the ball or club categories. They were far down the pecking order. And so they I think, wisely decided to go to their strengths and to focus their energies on what they do best. And with regard to retail, yes, there was a filing today. In fact, a Golfsmith filed their Chapter 11 today. This is, again, it's a case of overexpansion. It's a case, more of, maybe, leases that aren't favorable, over-inventoried, et cetera. So we're just seeing an adjustment in the marketplace. It's painful to go through. It feels worse than it really is, though, I can tell you that. Golf is very stable.
Well, on that note, for somebody who plays seemingly every other day and wanting to make sure that golf doesn't go by the way of the dinosaur, listening to Joe Beditz is very comforting, and very reassuring. We'll have Joe on a lot to monitor the growth of the industry from the business perspective. Rick Horrow keeping score. Be back in a couple of minutes.